Hello everybody and welcome to another Play Guitars Right podcast with me, Gareth Evans. This is the podcast where we're trying to educate people who are learning to play the guitar, who are enthusiasts with the guitar, as well as introduce some awesome local acts from around these parts. Now, today we have with us Alx Green. He's a singer-songwriter aged 26 from Chester. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's a huge honour to have you here. Thank you for coming in, by the way.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time to travel. I know Chester isn't the closest of places, but
It's not too bad.
It's good of you to come. So let's talk a little bit about you and your music and how you get started in playing guitar. So let's introduce you properly to begin with. Your music can be categorized as modern folk. Would you say that?
Yeah,
Is
I think
correct?
so. It's quite hard to put a specific genre on what I do, but I'd say that.
Yeah, okay. So we'll run with modern folk. But you do include percussive elements to your playing, finger tapping, and things like that. So it's like a new, different take on modern folk. There's a lot of folk artists doing this kind of percussive, finger picking, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's a very trendy type of playing, which I know a little bit about too. So we're going to start with, at the very start, what got you started into playing the guitar? How did you first get influenced to play it, pick it up?
So my dad's a guitarist.
Okay.
He was in bands while I was growing up, and I was like 5 or something when I first picked up a guitar because I saw him doing it and I was like, I want to do that. Yeah. Awesome. So I've always had a guitar in my life for a very long time. I didn't play seriously till early teens, but there was always one about, and he'd teach me he taught me the James Bond theme on one string when I was very, very young. I remember
awesome.
that. So yeah, he got me into it, and then from there it just kind of developed, and then I got to teenage years and just wanted to be in bands. And
so that was when you first started taking it seriously, was when you were a teenager?
As in when I started doing it.
Did you get proper lessons?
No, I'm completely self-taught.
So it was your dad who's influenced you?
Yeah, he was self-taught as well, but he knows a lot more about the theory side of it.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I kind of regret that I didn't have some sort of lessons, because when it comes to theory, I'm I'm the worst person.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean you can't play guitar, but it just looking back at it now, I'm like, I wish I'd known a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never too late. I'm still learning a lot now.
Yeah.
At least I know what key I'm playing in now.
Yeah.
As opposed to a couple of years ago where I didn't.
Yeah, I find it surprising how much you actually know you just pick it up as you go along. And I know from my own experience that you'll have picked a lot of theory up, but you won't have the right terminology for it. It's
sure.
They'll call it something. You'd be like, oh yeah, I thought about that. Oh, that's what they actually call it. Theory. So it's surprising that you will actually probably know more than you think you do.
Let's hope.
Yeah. So. First bands, Mason schools, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I was never a singer.
Right.
I've not been singing in front of people for very long at all. Even, I've only been doing it for about 5 years, singing in front of people. I've always sang on my own.
Yeah.
But I was standard growing up. I was just a guitarist in bands, and I was always either playing lead or just excuse for a teenage lead anyway, play as much lead as you can play on things like Green Day covers and things like that. I did the whole pop punky bands, and then I went into a little bit heavier bands. I listened to so much different music that I ended up being in so many different genres.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also a drummer. I was a drummer in a band. So I've always had the guitar about, and then like I say, in teens I started playing more and more in these bands, and then when I got a little late teens, I started writing on my own as well in my own time. I'd never tell anyone about it, and it would never play it in front of anyone. But I would start picking up the acoustic at home rather than the electric, which was because I'm technically started on electric.
Yeah.
It's funny because now I've completely gravitated towards acoustic.
Yeah, which is so.
I mean, I still play electric a lot, but in my solo stuff here, that I just play acoustic pretty much.
Of course, yeah.
But it's
so. So was it like a convenience thing where you'd get home, pick up your acoustic guitar, you'd have to plug it in, wasn't as invasive for the rest of the housemates or something like that? Was it just like you preferred the sound of the acoustic? Or
I don't know. It's really strange. It's like some people have asked me why I write this kind of music, and I think it's just naturally what comes out of me.
Yeah.
And it sounds really like cliched and annoying, but like it just happens to be how I write. You know, when I'm writing something, if I think it's going to sound better on electric, I'll play it on electric.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time it's acoustic based, so I end up picking up that instead.
Yeah.
When it comes to noise, I think I've had many noise complaints in the past, so I don't think that's ever been a worry for me.
Right, I see. So, inspirations musically growing up. You mentioned Green Day, all different types of music.
When I was in my teens, I was a little bit more kind of blinkered than I am now. I was listening to, I went through the whole... I grew up listening to pop punk and all that kind of thing, and then I started listening to heavy. My brother's a guitarist as well, and he listened to really, really heavy music, and I started listening to some of that, and I went to festivals like Download and all that kind of thing. And then when I think it's when I got to like 18, 19, I started listening to songwriters and things like Jeff Buckley and John Martyn, and it was weird because it was a complete change.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure where it came from, but once again, I think it was just something that before then it hadn't caught my ear.
Yeah.
Like my ears matured in a way.
Yeah, I think personally, if I can chime in on this, I think like music tends to find you. Like you can go searching for like all your, what's the next good thing I want to listen to, and eventually it's only when you stop listening you'll find something that you really connect with on a deep level. Like you mentioned Jeff Buckley, and it's the prime example of like emotional music that you can connect to on a different level, and that's the way I see it anyway. But
no, definitely, and it's ever since then that I think it was kind of like my late teens where I started looking into different genres that I'd never looked at before, things like blues and even folk as well, because like before then it was pretty much rock as a general thing. Obviously I had a few deviations, but now I listen to everything. I listen to blues, like I listen to some hip hop, I listen to neo soul, I listen to folk. So it's I think it's really nice listening to loads of different genres, because then when you're writing you end up picking little bits,
of course,
from each, and then that's why I think I find it so hard to kind of my genre, categorize it, because I'm like, well, there's bits of this and this,
of course. You quit your job as a fashion photographer, which you were in for 4 years, and decided to do this music thing full time. When was that?
That was last year. So it was about August last year, I think I left. Right.
So you spent 4 years using a camera, and now you decide to get in front of the camera and let someone else do.
It's scary. That's why I'm.
Talk to us about like what made you make that decision. What made you draw a line in the sand? I'm throwing all my energies into this now.
So I never thought I'd be doing music full time. Anyway, I've never, even when I started, like I say, writing in early 20s, whatever, on my own. It was always just on the side, and then I started doing it more and more and playing open mics and stuff, and then that's when I was trying to, I was passionate about photography as well, so I was like following a career in that, and then I went to college doing that, and then I worked freelance for a bit, and then I ended up getting this job, and which I did enjoy for a bit, and it just started becoming super stressful. It's a really stressful industry. And I don't think people realise what goes into something as simple as a photo, because it's not simple. But there was a lot of pressure, and I was doing my music on the side, and I felt like, I did it for, like I say, a few years, and I ended up getting ill, unfortunately, with stress, and I was like, kind of had a realisation of
an epiphany.
Yeah, well, I was like, I'm in my 20s and I'm ill from stress, like what am I doing? And I was like, right, what do I want to do? And I was like, well, I really enjoy my music, and I was like, well, literally a conversation with myself in
Yeah.
my head. Just
have a good talk.
and I was like, why aren't I doing what I want to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It's time I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And because I was always putting it in the background music, and it was suffering because of it. Because I'd be working 12-hour days, and like working so many days a week, and then getting home and being so tired that when I went to gig, I was half-assing it because I was just knackered.
Yeah. Isn't it difficult giving up the stability of having a regular income though? Well, yeah.
It is on paper, but then ultimately health is more important, and that's what it came down to. I was in hospital from it. I was actually genuinely ill, not just I'm stressed. I was actually ill, and it was just
something had to change.
I'm not gonna keep doing this to myself.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. Why should I? Everyone deserves to be happy, and I'm not happy at the moment. I had money, but I wasn't happy. Yeah. Now I have nowhere near as much, and I'm way happier. Yeah. So
no, there is more important things in life than being not financially stable, but there's more to life than just money and being happy. I think there's wealth in happiness.
Definitely.
That people don't
Totally. And I don't regret it as well. A lot of people said, "Oh, do you regret taking the job?" And I said, "No, because I wouldn't be doing this probably to the extent that I am." I that change going from that full-time career path, I don't like calling it career, but to this one, I probably wouldn't have made that jump as fluidly because I wouldn't have had that reason, and it was a really good kick to go right, do this. And ever since then, that's what I've been doing. And
is it everything you expected? Is it harder? Is it easier?
But what isn't hard? Trying to make it doing photography was bad enough, and it's music. I picked the industries, don't I? No, it's everything's, you can have to work for everything, but I'm still really enjoying it. And I think, just as a message to people in general, anyone that is wanting to be a musician, is just don't worry about getting knocked back. It happens a lot.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Power through, because you got to go through a lot of bad gigs, got to go through a lot of no replies, and you got to go through a lot of stuff before something comes through. But
eventually, Goliath Media might be knocking on the door, asking you to do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
You've made it then. I mean,
exactly. I'm by no means saying I've made it, but I've definitely learned that don't give up on the first hurdle, kind of thing, because nothing in life is simple. Especially with creative industries, because there's so much competition, because there's so many talented people. Yeah. But if you really want it, then you can make a living of it.
I find it hard to motivate sometimes when you feel you should be productive, and it being in a creative industry, it's not all about being productive, because part of being creative is having the time to be creative, and if you haven't got that time, it's a fine balance. And I've struggled for motivation in the past because I've beat myself up over the fact I'm not creative. Do you find that a problem?
I'd go as far as saying I've had a couple of moments that I've gone, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, and this is in the past year as well. You go, no one's really reacting to anything I'm doing, or no one, I'm trying so hard and nothing's coming from it, and it's just one of those things. There's always going to be ups and downs, but it is difficult. And also with things I have suffered in the past from writer's block as well, and that is definitely a thing. I was always like, is it really? And then it happened. I was like, oh, why did I jinx myself? Yeah. It can be difficult, but what can't?
Yeah, it's all difficult. I mean, what is worth achieving if you got it for free? You got to work hard.
You wouldn't appreciate it. You'd just be like, oh, that was easy.
That's it. We'll all get there. So next up, we want to take a break. You will want you to play a song for us, and you're going to play an original song of yours off your EP. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's off my new EP,
My Way Home, which is we've got a copy of here. What song is it? And talk to us about the song. What the idea behind the song is. What's it about?
Yeah, so it's called Downhill From Here. I actually wrote it when I was away last year. I started writing it in Belgium, I think, at the very beginning of my tour. I wrote the guitar, and then I actually didn't finish it till I got back here.
Okay.
So I had the music first, and then when I got back to England, I started going, I had so many voice memos on my phone from when I was away, and I was going through listening, and I was like, that's nice, and started playing it, and then just happened to start singing a melody over it, and then jotting down words, and it just kind of, it happened really like organically, and my words just kind of fell out, and I was like, this is a good sign, this is probably something I should write. It's I kind of like leaving this one open to interpretation a bit. Lots of people have said, is it negative? And it's not, because downhill from here for me means like, it's easier. If you walk, if it's uphill, that's difficult. Yeah. Downhill's, it's okay.
It's the chill out bit.
A few people have said to me like, shouldn't it be uphill from here? Like, so it's like happier. I was like, no, because uphill's harder.
Right, yeah. Well, it's everyone's interpretation. I kind of lends into you leaving it open for interpretation, the words themselves. So, okay. So we're going to take a break now. I hope you guys will enjoy this. This is Downhill From Here by our guest today, Alx Green. Enjoy.
Shines through your window in the early hours where you don't know, but I'm just the same. You hide away and you cover up from all the things that you overlook, but I'm just the same, and I don't even know what the hell I'm waiting for. We're losing light, but it won't be long. At least it's downhill from here. It's downhill from here. You pick up stories, you pick up books, work so hard for that old look, but I'm not the same. You pick up lies and you cover scars, a masquerade lit behind bars. Oh, I can't say the same, and I don't even know what the hell I'm waiting for. We're losing light, but it won't be long. At least it's downhill from here. It's downhill from here. It's downhill from here. And I don't even know
Hello and welcome back to the Play Your Guitars Right podcast with my guest today, Alx Green. Thanks for playing that song for us there. That was magical.
Thank you.
And hopefully the listeners and viewers now can see why you were invited on the show, because that was truly sensational. Thanks. So we're going to move on now to talk about what got you into the finger picking and this style of playing, the percussion techniques and that. So, like, who influenced you? Like, what were you learning? What were you... Like, was it any of your friends, or was it just music you were listening to?
As I mentioned before, I'm a drummer as well.
Yeah.
So I was a drummer in a band, and I'm more of a guitarist than I always have been. But then I think when I started, gravitating towards the acoustic, when I started listening to lots of acoustic artists, the only kind of current artists that I was hearing at the time were people like Ben Howard and.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, people like Newton Faulkner and those kind of guys. And I always liked that. Oh, look, you can do a little bit more with the guitar than what most people just see with their. Yeah. See most people do. And I always quite liked that. And I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do that. And then I genuinely can't remember what the stage was where I sat down and tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually can't remember, unfortunately. But probably because I didn't think it would amount to anything.
Yeah.
But then I obviously tried it, and it kind of works. So I stuck to it, and I think it's just, especially being a solo artist, and it's only recently I've started playing with other musicians with my music. And before that, it's a way of making more sound sonically than just strumming and singing or picking and singing, which is it's a big deal for live gigs, I think, because when there's just one person on the guitar, after however long, people go, like, we get it, and it's like, you don't want people to know what you're about in straight away. It's nice to throw that in and people go, oh, what? Like, it's that's why I don't do my whole set like percussively. Yeah. I like throwing just one or two in. Yeah. Because it kind of throws people off and they're like, oh, maybe I haven't sussed it out yet. Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's a nice thought. I think Tommy Emmanuel describes it as having he's got a drum kit, and he's able to play drums. He can play all different these sounds out of a guitar, and like you say, you can fill a room with the sound of one guitar, because essentially it's just a drum, isn't it?
And wooden box.
And being able to pull that off. When you first started playing the percussive side of things, like is it a matter of like, I mean, because a lot of people who are listening now might be going through this themselves, so it's what like there's a point where you think you might give up because it's not working, but eventually, if you persist, it's all about coordination and getting your left and hand right,
definitely,
like separated, so you've got different kind of rhythmic elements going on with both hands. That's just a case of repetition, though, isn't it?
I think so, and I think also not trying to jump in the deep end too much in terms of, don't try and play things to the speed. Yeah. If you're trying to copy someone, play it slower, because they've mastered it. That's why they're doing it like that, and you gotta build yourself up. You can't run before you can walk, I think. And I found that when I'm writing these kind of songs, I play them a lot slower when I'm writing them, just so I can figure out in my head how it's going to work. And then the more you play it, the more confident you get. And it's it's like anything, you practice makes perfect, and it genuinely does, especially with guitar. I think even not percussively, just normal playing styles. I've only just in the past few years started finger picking with more than these two. Right. Now I use them all. And not resting, the little finger. That was a habit that I had, and it took me, how many years? Like 20 years of guitar play. Well, 10 years of guitar playing or something to lift that finger off. It takes time, but you get there.
Yeah, I equate it to, like, I've got a couple of young kids myself, and thinking about it, it's watching them learn to talk and put words together, and the movements in the mouth. It's like the coordination in your mouth that it takes to pull off a long sentence. Yeah, like they start really, kids obviously, they start really simple words and like the 2 or 3 words together, but eventually the more they practice, you can get a full sentence out of it, and it's like complicated movements with your mouth and your tongue, and it's exactly the same thing with the guitar. I find is that the more you practice, you take it slow. You start with like the basic elements, and then you get coordination right slowly. You build upon that, get extra movements, and then eventually you're playing something really complicated. Whereas you know,
Definitely.
you look at it as a whole. It looks really difficult, but if you break it down, take it slow.
I think as well, like a lot of the time you're harsher on yourself than you need to be, because when you're learning, you know, oh, it's not working. But then to somebody that doesn't play guitar, they'll probably look at whatever you're doing and go, you know, that is good, and they're not just humouring you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, you know, I do it. I write stuff and I'm like, oh, that's not so good. And then if somebody like share it with one of my friends and they're like, oh, I really like it. I'm like, really? Like, well, I'm not like that bothered. So it's always good to get a second opinion, like, as well. But definitely persist. It's interesting to say about it. I've never heard it referenced to speech, but that's a really
it just popped into my head just now. So like, I'm riffing.
That's why you do this
I'm
job,
riffing
right?
as we go along. You know what I mean? I'm pulling these out of the air. You know what I mean? So far as inspirations, like, so you know, in this type of music, do you listen to a lot of percussive artists? Do you watch a lot of YouTube videos? People?
I do. I think I go through phases with it. Once again, because my whole set isn't built around it.
It's just part of it. Yeah.
But I mean, I absolutely adore it and I really appreciate it. But you know, there's certain videos I've seen on YouTube and stuff that, you know, that most people will have seen, even non-guitarists, but that I think are incredible. You know, there's so many talented people, and there's some that I've had the pleasure of supporting as well, which is nice.
Oh, tell us about that. Who's there?
So I supported John Gom at Telford's Warehouse in Chester.
Wow. John Gom, for those of you who aren't familiar, just search Passion Flower on YouTube and try and pick your jaw up afterwards. It's just an amazing amazing video. How over 10 million views now?
I think it's something like 10 million or even it could be more. I've not watched it for a while because after I saw him play it live, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that must have been something special.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, it was one of those gigs that I was like, I'm glad I was on before you and not after. But it was incredible, and it was really, you know, it was really amazing of him to, like, you know, ask me to do it. And
awesome.
Since doing that, I also supported a guy called Daniel Champagne from Australia, and that was also at Telford's in Chester. And he's same kind of fingerstyle with the singing, the percussive thing, but just such amazing songwriting as well as just incredible talent at playing an instrument. So I've been really fortunate, and I do listen to those. And I also, as I briefly mentioned before, I really like Ben Howard as well.
Yeah.
It's like, he doesn't tend to do, he's kind of, I say he's kind of like me. I'm probably kind of like him in the sense of not all my songs are, you know, like percussively, but he's very good at it.
Yeah.
And,
there's more and more of these. I call it like a fusion, because there's the fingerstyle genre, which is like no singing, and then there's like the finger picking folk kind of genre, and there's this like grey mat bit in between. There's like this fusion of these two genres where you've got like Newton Faulkner was one of the first, and you've got like totally. John Gom and the other dude you mentioned,
Daniel Champagne,
and there's so many coming up now, like yourself, like you're treading this new path, because this is like almost a brand new genre in a way. It's like what do you even call it? It's
definitely one thing that people that have said to me when I played live, they've said, oh, I've never seen someone sing and do it. You know, obviously there's lots of people who have done it for a long time, but I think it's just because it's less common. I know I've played a few gigs, and people have I actually played at a songwriting contest a while ago, and one of the judges said to me afterwards, this was in Liverpool, he was just like, I'm not gonna lie, when you sat down and put a guitar on your lap, I rolled my eyes because I thought you would just not, you know, I'd got it straight away. And he said you started singing, and it was nice because I didn't expect it. So it's those kind of reactions that I think it's nice to, that's why I chuck them in, because just kind of keeps your audience on the toes, I guess. It's fun as well, you know, like I can't deny it. It's fun to do.
No, it is. It's very impressive anyway.
Hurt your fingers, but it's fun.
It's well worth it. Okay, so let's move on now. I want to talk about, you travelled Europe for almost 4 months. Now, talk to us about the decision to buy a van. You bought a van. You made a bed in the back. You made a bed, and then you just like, right, I'm going to Europe. I'll be back in 4 months. Like, how did that come about?
So I didn't actually think it would be 4 months. It was just after I'd left my job that I mentioned before, and I knew that I needed to concentrate on music, and staying in Chester at that point was a kind of, I was like, I need to get away. You know, like if I'm stepping away from this lifestyle of working full time as a photographer, I was like, I need to kind of immerse myself somewhere, you know, outside my comfort zone. So I was like, what better to do and do a little tour. So I recorded like a home demo EP, I couldn't afford the sports car that I had anymore, so I sold that.
Right.
I got this van and put my my GCSE, you know, DT to its test, and built a wooden frame, like a bed in the back, put my guitars underneath, and I go on top. And I went out into Europe. I had a couple of gigs booked that I sent a few emails before, but really I thought I'd be there, you know, a month tops, something like that. And as I was going around, I just started playing, like busking. I was playing little gigs, open mic nights. I played in people's living rooms, you know, like I played anywhere you can imagine. And it was going really well. I didn't really go with any kind of preconceptions of what would come of it. You know, I wasn't thinking, where will this get me? I was just like, I need to get away, and I want to, you know, immerse myself in music for a bit. And so there was no real plan. For the first few weeks there was a plan, and then it just happened to keep going. And, you know, I was making money gigging and busking. And it was kind of, I was self-sufficient enough to keep going. And I was like, well, I don't need to go. I don't have to come back. So I just kept going, and then it got to, I think, like 2.5 month mark. And before I'd left, I'd uploaded my music to BBC Introducing. And I was very fortunate that I got an email off them saying that they'd like me to come in for a live session. They'd been playing my music for the past few weeks, and I hadn't even known.
Awesome.
Which was nice. And so I got like the first ferry back. I was like, they were like, oh, we'd love you to come in for a session. I was like, oh, I'm in Amsterdam at the moment. And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. You know, like, just do it whenever. And I was like, I do not want this to go off the boil. Yeah. So I was like, it's all right. I've booked my ferry on the credit card. I'll be back tomorrow. Literally got the first ferry back, did the session, and then drove back out into Europe and carried on. Nice. So nice. It was funny. But and then I was out for like another, you know, month and a half after that. I think the only reason I actually ended up coming back, it was about this time last year when I came back, and it's because it was getting way too cold to sleep in my van. Yeah, you know, it's wow. Europe's not the warmest place. In the places I was going.
Sorry, any plans to go back again once the weather?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. My plan is next year. Nothing's set in stone yet, but so I can't really announce anything yet. But I'm looking at doing a tour, but with my band.
I see.
So some of the places that I visited over there, I'm going back to, but with a band for actual shows this time. So I did a lot of networking when I was out there, and once again, without even meaning to, you know, I just met a lot of people. Yeah. And they were all like, yeah, well, you're always welcome back. You know, it's amazing how, you know, it really restored my faith in humanity when I was over there, because people are so generous. And
Europe is an awesome place. I've been to, lucky enough to be to Holland for a couple of times, and they're just so culturally accepting. Like with different styles of music, they just appreciate things a lot more. I find I'm not dissing the UK or anything.
No, not at all.
They're so much more accepting, and it's kind of like they grew up kind of knowing a little bit of German, they know a little bit of French, and it's like it's just part of the culture. It's just who they are, and it's more of a brotherhood type of outlook, I think, that they've got over there. Yeah, and it's very welcoming and warming, and I really enjoy it.
I spent most of my time in Germany, actually. It was one place I kept going back to because of this reason. You know, people are so generous, and they're so, you know, I'd meet someone they will have known me for a couple of hours, like met me busking or whatever, and then they're like, oh, you know, where are you sleeping? I'm like, oh, in my van. And they're like, don't be stupid, you know, you can sleep on my couch, here's a key. Literally a few people gave me a key, and they're like, I'll be at work in the morning, just leave it under the mat. I'm like, you would just like never get that, like no. So much trust. And but then, you know, why would you betray that? Because it was amazing. Like, it was little things like that was just like, wow, like, you know, there are some really good people out there. It was cool.
So it must have been really kind of scary or daunting? Just like, okay, you'd made contact with some venues before you went. Like you said, you sent a few emails.
Yeah.
But did you? Was it scary? Or was it like, or were you just like wind in your sails? I'm out of here. Let's do something fun.
Because I had no idea really what I was doing. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I needed to do it. I mean, I was lucky. My friend came with me for the first 2 weeks.
Right.
So that kind of like eased me in, because it was
nice.
like a holiday for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then when he flew back, that's when it kind of hit home that I was actually what I was doing. And I had a couple of tough days, like worrying, and as anyone would. But it was such a great experience, and when the positive things started happening, like meeting these people and getting that call, like getting that email, and all these kind of things, it just kind of like solidified the fact that I've made the right decision, because I would never be in this situation had it not been for leaving that job. I'm not, it's not all down to me leaving the job, that you can do this while still having the job. But for me personally, it was I wouldn't have done it if I'd been there, because I would have been tied back here.
Of course, your personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
It is an amazing story, really, and it's I don't know, it's inspirational in a way, and it's I kind of a bit jealous of you being able to do that.
Well, I mean, like I've said to everyone though, that's also said this, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
It's it's the hardest thing to get over is the decision to do it.
Yeah.
And to commit to it,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, it was funny, like when I first told my parents, they're like, what? I mean, they're very supportive with me, and they have been, and I can't knock them. But when I first told them, they're kind of like, right, leave your career, and then okay. I could see the looks on their faces. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But once you've made the decision, even if you're not a musician, it's just go out and meet people. I met so many amazing people,
mm-hmm.
and I am that awful English person who can't speak any other language. And I was like, speak English. Like, people are a lot more welcoming. Let's make a joke of it.
Yeah.
But I met so many incredible people out there, and I can't wait to go back. I'm not sure when
Awesome.
it'll be, but I think it will be next year.
Awesome. While you were out there, you wrote some music too. Did you write the whole of the EP My Way Home while you were out there?
So I wrote a lot of music, because when I was parking up to go to sleep at night or whatever, it was normally in between cities. I'd sleep in like truck stops and stuff on route, because they were the only quietest places, and they're free.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I'd just get the guitar, and I'd be just playing around with stuff, and my voice memos and notes on my phone are just full of lyrics and bits. So when I was on my way, I actually wrote the most on the way home,
right?
And hence the name of the EP.
Yeah.
I think it was just because when I was driving back, I was just thinking, like, I don't have to go back to that lifestyle I had. I can choose to be like, it sounds so like cheesy and happy, but I don't care. I can choose to be happy, and that's what I did, and that's when I kind of the most creative flow was going.
Yeah.
So I wrote the whole EP bar one song, which is called My Door, which I wrote. I think it's one of my older songs, but it was one when it came to, because it's a full band EP.
Mm-hmm.
It's one I'd always wanted to record with full band, so I was like, that's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only kind of oddball. It doesn't actually fit with my journey, but it had to be on there.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, I wrote all on the way back. And
so talk to us a little bit more then. My Way Home was released this year. You recorded it in where was it?
It's called Edge Recording Studios
in Manchester.
Just outside of Manchester. It's right. I think it just says Cheshire on the website, but it's just outside of Manchester.
Yeah. How was that experience? Was it the first time you'd done it with a full band?
Yeah, first time actually in a proper studio as well, which was, so before then I'd only done home recordings, and it was when I got back that I didn't plan on, even when I got back, I knew I had these songs, but I didn't think, I need to make an EP. It was just, I started playing, I found I was playing them, because obviously when I got back I was still playing open mics, and I was like, maybe I should like make this into a thing. So yeah, I saved up some money and went into the studio, which is quite kind of daunting as well, because I'd never spent money on recording before, or worked with other musicians. Like I've got cello, double bass, drums, piano, all these amazing layers which I'd never imagined on my music. I've been in bands but never about my music, so I felt very treated the whole time.
How does that come together then? Did you get session musicians in, or was it your friends? Was it?
I say session musicians, but they are friends.
Yeah.
When I first met them, apart from the pianist Matt, he was a close friend. He was the one who came out with me for the first couple of weeks. The other guys I knew of and had conversations in the past, like, yeah, I'd love to. In my head going, I'm probably never gonna make this record, which I'd love to do. And then when it came to it, I rang up, I was like, yeah, do you still want to do that record with me? And they're like, yeah, of course. So, but now they ended up, through the recording process, just becoming really good friends. And I've always loved things like, I wanted it to sound kind of, acoustic-y still. That's why I chose things like cello and double bass rather than, just the A bass. And it was really nice to have their input as well, because I wasn't like, I want this. I kind of left it, I'm going to play the songs and like you play over it and we'll see what happens. And pretty much, 90% of the time, the first thing they played, I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That they are session musicians by profession, by trade. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, of course. Which makes it a lot easier for you. You don't have to like, oh, what should we put here? Because they just play it, get up and play it.
Yeah, it was such a great experience. And the guy Mark at the studio who like kind of co-produced it with me and recorded it, he's a genius. Some of the stuff he'd get me to record like random sounds on like random harmonics or like hitting things and dropping things, and he was like, just trust me, and then come back to me a couple of days later after he's played around with it, and I'm like, my God, how have you done that? And he's like, magic. So yeah, shout out to Mark, well done.
Now that people know about it, they can get hold of My Way Home from, well, obviously, your usual streaming services, Spotify,
iTunes,
iTunes,
Amazon. Where else? It's not on SoundCloud yet.
Right,
it's going to be soon. But yeah, Spotify or iTunes if you would like to buy it, or you can get physical copies.
Yeah, are they available?
They're available either from me at gigs, or there's a shop in Chester called Becknick's. Becknick's Wonder Emporium.
Right.
I think that's right. Is that right, Emmy? Yeah. So you can get it there, but I am going to be getting it so you can order it on my website as well, which is just alxgreen.com.
It is a nice artwork and a nice sleeve, and it's aesthetically pleasing to have, like the actual CD itself.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
That's cool. So without much further ado, we want you to play a cover song for us. Would you like to introduce the cover song, why you chose to play this? And
so I'm going to play May You Never by John Martyn. John Martyn's in the past couple of years has been a big influence on me. Unfortunately, he's not around anymore, but just if you don't know about him, check him out. He's amazing folk singer-songwriter, but then I suppose he's done so many genres within that. I think personally my favourite stuff is in around like mid-70s that he did.
Yeah.
And it's when this song came about, and I listened to a lot of him while I was away actually, because obviously I drove nearly 10,000 miles in Europe. It's a lot of music to listen to in the car,
of course, yeah,
especially when you're on your own. So I actually had, I think, 4 of his albums, and kept jumping back to certain songs and gravitating towards them. And this is just it's a nice light-hearted song, and
it is a beautiful song.
It's I wish I could play it exactly how he does, because his technique was incredible.
Yeah,
but I suppose it's my own take on it.
I always tell people it doesn't matter. It's just been note for note. People are always like, oh, that's not exactly how he plays it. It does not matter. Like at the end of the day, it's just your interpretation. It's a song in your, someone else's song, but with your flavour on it.
Yeah, definitely. I just like to think that it's like any cover. You just want to do it some justice. Not note for note, but as long as it's okay, then I'm happy.
Well, let's put the proof to recording now. Let's just see.
No pressure, right?
No pressure now. Yeah. So this is May You Never originally by John Martyn, played by Alx Green. I hope you guys enjoy this, and take it away.
May you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. And may you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. Or you was mean like a sweet and crazy brother to me. I try to love you like I should, and you never talking dirty behind my back, and I know that there's those who would. Oh please, won't you bear it in mind? Love is a lesson to learn in our time. And please, won't you bear it in mind for me? Oh, may you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. May you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. Oh, you was mean like a sweet and crazy sister to me. I try to love you like I should, and you hold no blade to stab me in my back, and I know that there's those who would. Oh please, won't you bear it in mind? Love is a lesson to learn in our time. And please, won't you bear it in mind for me? And may you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. May you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. And may you never lose your temper if you get hit in a barroom fight. May you never lose your lover overnight. May you never lay your head down without a hand to hold. May you never make your bed out in the cold. And may you never lose your temper if you get hit in a barroom fight. May you never lose your lover overnight.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Play Your Guitars Right podcast with my special guest today, Alx Green. Welcome back, and thanks for being here again.
No worries.
Thanks for that awesome performance of May You Never, John Martyn, one of my favourite songs. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? Yeah.
I think so.
I'm gonna put it out there. Yeah, May You Never by John Martyn is an absolute humdinger of a song. It's fantastic, and we appreciate you playing it for us. So we're going to round off the podcast now. We're going to talk a little bit about songwriting. Some people might be interested in how you come up with songs, what the process is like, whether you use different ways of coming up with songs. You start with the vocals or the guitar, or like, how does it work for you?
It's always a little bit different, I think. But mainly I come up with guitar first.
Okay.
I write a lot of lyrics in my phone and on bits of paper scrapped around at home and stuff. But
does that happen separate? So you write lyrics and then you apply them to already established guitar part, or do you write both together?
It's not like a for sure process, but a lot of the time I think more often than not, I will sit down and start playing guitar. Sometimes it's for seconds, sometimes it's for hours, until something like catches my ear and I'm like, that's nice. And then I'll start humming a melody or singing just like whatever comes out. And it's normally that turns songs into songs. So a lot of the time I'll play the guitar, like I say, and go, oh, that's nice, I like that. And then come up with the kind of progression first. Yeah. And then start either like just naturally spitting out the words and writing them down as I'm playing. It's like sometimes I just press record on like my phone and play the whole song through, and then I listen back and I'm like, that's actually, it's weird, that's kind of everything I was thinking right now. And like it sometimes works really organically and it's amazing. Other times I struggle for lyrics, but I've got a melody and the music, so I go, I've got lyrics. Right. And and sometimes do that, but that's probably rarer than it just happening. I can't force it. I've definitely learnt that. I've tried to go, right, tomorrow I'm going to write. Doesn't work. No. It has to just happen. Yeah. It's I can always sit down and play guitar. That's one thing that I can go, I'm going to sit down and do. And that's what I really love about it. I don't always have to sing. But I think when it comes to melody and words, that's when I have to be in the zone. Whatever that is. Normally it's 3 a.m.
And you got the right kind of inspiration.
Yeah. Or if I'm in a van in the middle of Germany or something. Yeah,
that might help. Yeah.
But there's never a process. It's always a bit random. Yeah.
It's the best way for creativity to happen, isn't it? You can't schedule creativity, really.
I wish you could.
It would all be far more productive, I know that. It's always interesting for me to hear how other artists, how other songwriters come up with the material, because everyone's different. The whole creative process is different. It's interesting that you start with a guitar piece, which in my very limited songwriting myself, that's the way you pick up the guitar, you find something that you like hearing, appeals to your ears, as it were. But having, you say you write lyrics separately, and having that as some kind of fallback or some other way of applying your words to the songs. It's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, when I say write lyrics, I don't ever. It's rare that I write the whole song. I write the odd line or the odd paragraph. Yeah. A lot of the time, it just comes like really like randomly. Like I'll be falling asleep and be like, just write that down quickly, and then go back to sleep, and then forget it's there. And most of the time I don't do anything with them, but it's nice to sometimes go, I need a chorus or something, and I look through, and then sometimes it fits. But that's kind of like the rare thing to happen. It's more often than not, it's verbal diarrhea, just whatever comes out of my mouth. Yeah, write it down.
So you start off writing a song, let's say. Do you ever get to the point where it's like, right, what I've got is pretty good, but I need a chorus, I need a verse musically? Like, how do I turn this around into something that's this progression? Is it different without using the same chords again? Like, do you ever get that point where you like, and do is at this point where you apply your creative brain? It's like, is there a certain amount of rules I could use here? I could use the same chords in a different progression, or I can find a new chord and just throw that in. Like, what is that thought process for you?
Yeah, it's like you say, it can be very different from song to song. Normally, if I need a chorus, choruses are always like the hard thing, because you need to go from, someone described it once as your verses should be here and your choruses should be here. Yeah. And to get from here to here, it's normal. I do a lot of pre-choruses because I think that kind of like helps the ramp up.
Yeah, builds it up.
I like a good pre-chorus, and normally after writing a pre-chorus, for me personally, I can find it easier to naturally go into the top.
Yeah.
You know, because whether it, I mean, you know, technical terms, I'm not sure, but whether you're going up a bit and then like, you know, kind of like teasing into it, and then you go a whole new chord that you've not played before. Or, I think that's for me works. A pre-chorus is a nice way of getting a chorus because you kind of naturally go, oh, I know what that should sound like. Yeah. It should be this note, and then I'll hum it, and then I'll go do. Oh, it's there. Yeah. And then figure it out that way.
So can I just interrupt you? We were talking before about music theory and about, you don't know a lot about music theory, but this is exactly what you're talking about right now. You're talking about dynamics and building a dynamic and like, oh, you don't know how to find the notes, so you physically go through a process, which is, this is all music theory. Like this is grade A.
I just don't know what it's called.
Exactly. There's no terminology for it, but it's this type of thing that you learn as you go along as a musician.
Definitely.
But you know, some people were here hundreds of years ago, and they put names and tags on them, which you can sit in school and learn, or you can learn on the job, like a lot of musicians.
I think learning about songwriting, the best thing you can do, personally anyway, is listen to different music. The more music I listen to, especially when I made the jump from, I'd never really listened to a lot of blues, and then I started listening to blues. It opened up this whole world for me, especially melody-wise. You know, coming in and out, major, minor, and all that kind of thing. And it's something I never thought about before because my brain didn't work in that way. And it's nice because now, naturally, I will do it because I've been listening to it for a long time now. But before, you know, I listened to old songs of mine, and I'm like, why didn't I do that there? Yeah. You know, like I think, if I'd only known what I know now, you know, it's funny. But
do you ever want to rewrite your songs and like add an extra bit?
Sometimes I won't though. I think I'd rather.
Well, once you've recorded them, it's kind of difficult.
I think as well, it's kind of nice having. That's where I was. This is where I am. I think it's going to be quite nice, you know. It's always going to be nice no matter where I am in life, I think, to look back at old songs. You know, I actually listened to my first home recordings a couple of weeks ago, expecting the worst. And I was like pleasantly surprised by a couple of things in there. I was like, that's interesting. Surprised I did that. You know, like it's quite nice, and I think it's important to not discount things that you have written, no matter how long ago and no matter what you think of it.
Yeah, be loyal to your past and your journey that you're taking. I mean,
you know, it obviously worked for you at that time for a reason, and it's even just to learn from. It's nice to. I definitely do that a lot. I listen. Not that I sit on Spotify listening to myself, but I have listened back to my old songs sometimes, and I'm like, that's. You know, why did I do that? Or
no, it's nice. Part of the analysing yourself and critically and analysing your what you've created is a good way of picking apart like everything that's gone into it, and like I do it all the time is with all the videos. Like I'm sitting there watching my videos, and the wife's saying, "Oh, you're watching yourself again," and I'm literally looking for what I've done right, what I've done wrong, what I do better next time, and it's all part of the creative process. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wouldn't be, I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm like, yes, I'm watching myself again. I love myself, by the way.
I've liked my video. I've subscribed myself.
That's right. 5 more accounts. I've liked my own video now. That's cool. Okay, so we're coming towards the very end now. We like to give our guests the opportunity to take over the podcast, the 2-minute takeover, or just like share anything that you want. So you're in charge for the next couple of minutes. You can say anything you want, plug anything you want, any upcoming gigs, any upcoming music, anything that you want to say to the audience. You can, and go ahead.
Put me on the spot now.
Ask me a question if you like.
I'm pretty much the main thing is just I suppose if you'd like to hear my music, you can like we touched on it before, you can hear it on Spotify, iTunes, and all my social pages, so Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram, everything is linked through my website, which is just alxgreen.com.
Yeah.
It's ALX because if you didn't know already, I spell my name ALX because I'm strange. But my name, it is Alex. Like, people call me
pronounce
Alx.
it Alex, but it's ALX.
Yeah, it is Alex. So I will respond to that. So yeah, you can find if you just Google Alx Green. I seem to be the only person who's done it. You never know, after this video someone else might, but
No, it's...
but so that's the easiest way to find my music. And
Yeah.
on YouTube, I'm going to be putting up a lot more videos myself.
You have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Sorry, I'm jumping in now, but you've got a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so it's just YouTube /Alx Green.
Yeah, for those of you listening or watching on YouTube, there'll be links to all this down in the description of the video. Alex's Twitter, Facebook. There'll be links down in the description of this video. You can check them out there.
Yeah, cool. And other than that, any feedback, it's always welcome. I'd love to hear what people think of the EP.
Well, I think your EP is fantastic. If that's any,
there we go. This one.
We've been listening to it in the office, and it's nice to, like I said, it's that middle ground that you got fingerstyle and you've got folk, and you've got so very few people who are doing it and doing it at a high technical quality in each of the because there's the singing and then there's the guitar playing, and you're one of the ones that gets it right. You've got a good balance between like it's quite right. The singing is like as good as the guitar playing, because a lot of times you might get an artist who's better at one than the other, but you've got you've got a caliber about you, so it's nice. And like we said, we are very lucky to have you in here, and
thank you for asking me.
You're more than welcome. This is a good place to kind of wrap up now. So we do wish you all the best in the future, and I hope you you ride this road into your ideal scenario. You get where you want to go with this whole music.
Well, I'm
thing.
not planning on stopping, so
and all the best of luck with it. And
thank you very much. And thanks for having me again.
We think you're very brave to do what you've done.
Or stupid.
Well, it's a life experience at the very least.
Fine line.
There's a fine line between stupidity and
bravery.
Yeah, bravery. So thanks for coming, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if anyone wants to get hold of Alex, Twitter @ALX_Green, Facebook @ALX Green, website alexgreen.com. Obviously, his EP My Way Home was released this year. You can get that all the stores, iTunes, Spotify, and all
of the internet.
So get all over it, because I certainly have, and we have here. So that's it. Thanks for watching and listening, guys. We will see you again in the very next installment of Play Your Guitars Right podcast, and we will see you then. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, guys. If you want to go and check out the previous podcast, if you missed that one, you can click on the screen over there somewhere. And for future podcasts, why not hit the subscribe button at the top? You can go to iTunes, subscribe in there, or SoundCloud too. That's where we're posting these podcasts too. So until next time, bye for now.